It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Mandy the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are y'all guys doing?
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I hope everybody out there is doing alright. So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Alright, so this week's been fun. But ultimately, my problem now is that I am stalling off on binge watching something. Because I'm weird that way, because I don't like to binge watch things. But I need to binge watch something. And I'm kind of just not ready to start yet. So I started futzing around on YouTube and came across an account or a channel or whatever you call it called Horror Movie Archive. And they've got a ton of old horror movies ranging from, there's stuff from the 30s on there, there's stuff from the 80s on there, there's a whole bunch of shit in between. So I was kind of watching some stuff on there. I watched a movie called Maniac, which is from 1934. I'm not really going to go into a whole lot of detail on it because it's really short and you should watch it just because it's so damn creepy, which is kind of impressive for that time period. But this is kind of right on the edge of the movie code thing, so it's kind of a little bit before that, I think. So there's some. It's creepy. It's fun. And I also started watching a movie called Last Woman on Earth, which is from 1960, which is kind of an apocalyptic scenario type thing, which is, I mean, I haven't gotten all the way into it yet. I haven't gotten through it yet, but it's fun in a weird way. So
it's not a follow-up to The Last Man on Earth?
No, it's not related at all. There's actually three people, obviously 2 men and a woman, who, because they happen to be scuba diving when whatever happened, they're really unclear on what happened. Apparently it had something to do with the Earth's atmosphere losing all its oxygen for about an hour, and then it came back all of a sudden. A little strange. Like I said, I'm only maybe halfway through it.
Sorry about that. Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
Yeah, oops.
I bumped the switch. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, the scene from, what's the guy's name in Airplane?
Johnny pulled the plug.
Johnny pulled the plug, yep. That's absolutely. I'd love to make a copy of that and splice that in. But, yeah. So, yeah, that kind of odd.
Just kidding.
So what are you putting off watching? You knew I had to ask.
I was casually not going to bring that up, but since you did, now see, this is actually good. It's good because you're going to force me. You're going to force my hand. It's the other 6 episodes of The Tick have hit Amazon Prime, and it's not that I don't want to watch them. It's that I don't want to binge watch them, and so
right.
I can. But now this is going to force me to, because now I'll have to talk about it on the show. So that's actually a good thing. But yes, that is what.
Way to go, Liz.
Yeah, I'm good for something.
It's good and bad. I'm very ambivalent about this now. But no, yeah, I need to start watching it just so I can tell you guys about it. But it's a binge thing, and I don't like binging, so I stall it off.
See, and I'm just the opposite. I like having a big chunk of the show that I can watch all at once because I hate cliffhangers. I hate the what ifs and what's going to happen next week. And so most of my shows I watch, I wait till it hits Netflix and watch it all at once.
Yeah, I just can't do it. It's not in my psyche. It doesn't work that way in my brain for some reason. I can't process it that fast, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, who's next?
Well, I didn't do a whole lot of nothing, so womp womp for me this week.
Hey.
Yeah. Womp womp womp. Thanks for playing. No, it's just organizing what I have, you know. And then I went through that previews book, and it's like, wow, May's going to kill me.
Gotta get your orders in now.
Yep. And I have it on a Word file, so it's good to go.
Oh, Lord.
Right. Like I said, I got through and it was like, wow.
So basically you went full on meta geek this week.
You know, it was crazy because there's actually some Marvel on this list, and it was like I never thought I would put Marvel on my pull list. So
Wow.
there's a first.
And that's a word to everybody. Get your orders in now, because retailers got to finalize their orders here in another couple weeks by the end of the month. So.
And one good thing I saw that Marvel's doing is they're doing the hunt for Wolverine. So I knew when they killed him, he couldn't stay dead. So it's going to kind of be neat how they bring him back into the living world.
Well, I knew he was going to be back. I figured he would have been back earlier than he was.
Yeah.
And the fact that Charles Soule, who actually wrote Death of Wolverine, is overseeing this return, is actually kind of cool that they let that happen.
That is cool. Well, and I like the way that they ended Wolverine because it was kind of like on his own terms, you know?
Yeah.
So, like I said, it should be interesting. I'm kind of excited about that one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely get your orders in, because that's what I was working on the other day. It's getting everybody's numbers in.
What does that do again?
Yeah, you need to have them in pretty soon, because retailers have to have commit by the end of the month.
End of the month.
Mm-hmm. If not before.
You know, I think it was you that was telling me that previews is now digital too.
The catalogs are now available digitally, which is cool.
Makes it even easier, you know.
Yeah. If you don't want to lug that big book around and try to,
The great big book of shit I can't afford.
All
right.
out of it.
Yeah.
Right. It's my wish book.
It's the Sears Christmas catalog. Yep.
Yep.
All right, Les, how about you?
Well, first I have a question for Mike.
Uh-oh.
In the movie Maniac,
Mm-hmm.
did the girl sit in a chair after dancing and get splashed?
Dancing.
Mm-hmm.
So you finally told a joke that I got.
Oh, I get it.
And then she flashed, so,
Right.
yes.
Now, that's a different movie. That's a slightly newer movie.
She flashed after she danced. Yes, yeah.
I'm going to say, don't make me bust out in song.
Hey, there's an idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a threat or a show premise.
Right. It'd be a threat.
Good night, everybody. This week I picked up a couple of the Alterna Comics. The first was Sonitus.
Yes.
Is that what it was?
Something like that. Sonitus.
Sonitus, thank you.
Yeah.
And I was not that impressed with it, but I picked up the 12 also, which is a futuristic, apocalyptic world, and it seems to be one of those that I will follow. It's only a 5 issue, so I could probably stay with it. And I was impressed, though.
Yeah.
I was happy to pick these up because I am a liker, I am a proponent of the Alterna Press. Try to get all the things that they do issue, and that is kind of fun. It's kind of neat to go that route.
Yeah, they got some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. I mean, not everything appeals to everybody's taste, of course, but they have a pretty broad spectrum of tastes there, too.
Very much so.
And I think that's what I like a lot about it, is that it is so far-ranging.
Yep. They're doing great things.
I like Sonitus. I think there's some potential there. I kind of wanted more. I understand what you were saying there, Les. But I thought it was really good. I actually did a review on the website, and that's co-written by Cody Sousa, who a miniseries Croak came out last year.
Which was an award-winning miniseries.
There you go.
So there we go.
So if you liked Croak, you should try to check this one out and see what you think. Or if you hadn't checked out Croak, go pick up Croak.
Even try any of them.
Yeah.
You will not be disappointed.
Yep.
And for the most part, you can get 3 of them for the price of a Big 2 book. Because of the whole newsprint thing.
Yep.
So there you go, even more incentive.
True.
It's amazing how I point that out to customers, and they kind of, they're pleasantly surprised and then check it out, and they kind of, some of them talk about bringing back memories and that kind of thing. So it's kind of cool. So that, I mean, all this time later, it's still having that positive impact, like it did when Peter Smetty originally announced that he was doing this. So, and it's obviously doing well.
Right. Yeah.
Alrighty. Cool. For me, I had picked up a trade. It's the Complete Captain Marvel by Jim Starlin, which surprisingly I did not have, but I had a lot of this material collected in several other collections or in the original form, but I wanted this as kind of a bookend to my Warlock by Jim Starlin. And it was really cool kind of going back and reading these stories and gazing at this art again. I mean, it has this entire run on Captain Marvel, and then an issue of Iron Man, which I think is the first appearance of Drax the Destroyer, and then there was another book I can't remember what it was on at that point. But it was a nice little run, and it also obviously included the graphic novel The Death of Captain Marvel. So, which is funny because the last issue that he wrote and drew, I believe he wrote it, I know he drew it, actually shows exactly the origin of what leads to his death in the graphic novel. So it's kind of although you're talking about 5 to 6 years period, and obviously other issues, not only in his own series, but several one-shots and that kind of stuff happened in between, but that was the last one he actually was involved with until the graphic novel. So, I mean, you literally turn the page and you start reading the story of and spoiler alert, Marvel develops cancer. And they explain how it happened. You're like, I just read that 3 pages ago.
Right.
So I mean, it was intentional, but it wasn't intentional. So that's kind of neat that happened.
Yep.
And something else I've been kind of playing around, as these guys will testify. I'm always thinking ideas for the show and for the website and all that kind of stuff. And I was looking at my Twitter feed the other day, and something popped up, and I went, And a little backstory. I know Les wants us to come back, and hint, it may come back for 2019. We'll see. When I first started the website, I was thinking about activities that could be done with you, the audience. Kind of interact with y'all, especially in social media, although at that time I was pretty much just dealing with Facebook. And as you can see on the calendar, it is March, and there is a certain activity going on with college basketball.
Is that going on already? Yeesh.
We're getting there. We're getting there. It may have started by the time this drops.
Oh, almost certainly.
But yeah, it's that time again. And back when I first thought about doing this, we're looking at end of 2010, 2011. And at the time, there may have been a couple websites doing this kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Well, let me try that. So I came up with the concept of comic craziness. And the kind of answer to the question, who would win a fight between Mighty Mouse and Superman? Not really, but...
Yeah, because we all know Mighty Mouse would.
Who would win, Les? Who would win? Mighty Mouse and Superman? Wasn't that the question?
Yeah, it was Superman, because Mighty Mouse is a cartoon.
There you go. So, I did this for 3 years. I did this for 3 years. I did it for 2011, 2012, and 2013, and then I kind of stopped because just for several reasons. And I started thinking about doing it again the last couple of years or so, and I realized everybody's now doing it. I'm like, oh, wow, I was kind of ahead of the curve again. Oh, damn. But, who knows? I might start it up again for 2019. We'll see.
It's quite the challenge.
It is. Because how we handled it is kind of different from what most sites do, because we don't ask for, okay, who wins the fight. We ask who wins the fight and why. So we want a little bit more thought into it, and it challenges us too. Because when it comes up to the two opponents, we go, okay, who can take the other out, and what would be the reasoning behind it. So I know Les liked that not only as a participant, but he also liked reading the reasonings from everybody else who was playing.
Yes.
That would be pretty cool.
So it's so much. It's a little bit more of a challenge for everybody than just saying, okay, well, so and so win this, and why? Well, because. No, no, we don't play that.
Yeah.
So it may come back.
Unfortunately, that's how we got some of the answers too.
Yeah, I mean,
and that drove us crazy.
Yep. So I kind of got that itch again, and who knows, Mom, I might try to put something together for next year and try to see what we can do about having some kind of prize and all that. So who knows? Just stay tuned. It may come back. I still have all the original material. I still even have the page up. It's just no one has access to it right now. So all that information is still there. If I put it up tomorrow, you can look and see that the previous posts are from 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So that this is not some BS on my part. So it may come back. We'll see.
Very cool.
Alrighty. Before we get into this week's topic, want to take a couple of moments to thank our sponsors. The fine folks at Things from Another World for sponsoring the fellowship. And right now, their evergreen deals are the only ones that are going on right now. And you can find out more information about that if you go to www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net/sponsors. You'll see the information about their latest deals, and there may be a new sale drop since we've recorded. If that happens, that information will be there as well. But the evergreen deals include 40% off comics, statues, toys, and merchandise. 30% off select pre-order manga titles, and 50% off Nick and Dent comics. So while you're on our website, like I said, you see all that information. You'll see links. If you just click onto those, that'll take you to their website and let them know that we sent you their way. And just take advantage of some of these great deals that they're doing. Alrighty. I really wish I could tell you how I came about this week's topic, but I was thinking about it last night. I was like, I don't remember how I came up with this idea. But it just kind of dawned on me that, there's stories out there that we enjoy, and then something happens, whether it's a direction or a story element or something that happens, you go, oh, if that hadn't happened, or if it had gone another way, that would have been great. I think that was a mistake. So I'm not saying this is going to be believe me, this is not going to be a bitch fest. This is just kind of wish they went the other way, but all right. At least that's how I hope we're going to handle it. It's not going to be a bitch session.
I may have misunderstood the assignment.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe you should have been more clear about that. But
right.
No, I don't think it'll be that bad.
Well, because, if we wanted that, we would just get on social media, because that's all there is. So.
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, mostly. So, with that said, that's what we'll be discussing this week, and who would like to go first?
Well, the first thing I thought of when I thought story direction that I wish hadn't happened, first thing that pops in my head is the whole line of Harley 52. That was my girl. I absolutely loved the character, but it seemed like with the 52, they started moving her closer to the cinematic Harley that they were trying to portray on TV, and it just kind of all fell apart after that. So I had to give up reading her, and I didn't like doing that. She's always been a fun character, and I think that they kind of made her a bimbo, and I didn't like that.
So she devolved, basically.
She devolved big time.
Because she started out as kind of a bimbo, and then got smarter and more interesting, and then boom.
Yeah. Well, I think right before they did the 52 split, they had just split her up with Joker. And I thought, well, this is cool because now we can finally see the strong, independent person that she needs to be instead of so codependent. And it's like she jumped from one bed to another, and we never got to see that Harley that we all know's there. She was a psychiatrist beforehand. She was educated, she was smart, and what made her crazy was the Joker. So you take that element away, and I don't know. I would have liked to have seen something better than the bimbo, Yeah, like I said, I'd like to see her go back to the old Harley, the one that took Batman on and almost kicked his butt. That's the one I want back.
Somehow I knew that was going to be your choice. But I understand. They evolved her from the animated series, and she at that time she was kind of good for a joke. When they brought her into the mainstream,
Yeah.
they gave her a little more depth. And then in 52, they took her essentially away from that process of any humor at all.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I was kind of sorry to see that happen. But on the other hand, I understand why, too.
In Death of a Family, she pretty much stood up to Joker. She had that backbone, and he knew that she was no longer that girl that he controlled and manipulated,
Yes.
And it seems like from that point into 52, she totally lost that backbone again and forgot about standing on her own, But I would have liked to have seen that Harley in Death of a Family continued on. She was tough.
Yeah. Do you believe they reestablished part of that, though, in the Rebirth?
As much as I love Harley, 52 just kind of burnt me so bad that I don't even think I've read any of the new Harley. I'm scared that it's this Suicide Squad, Margie Robbo, or whatever her name is, Harley again, and I didn't like it on the screen, and I didn't really want to read it, And then kind of pairing her with Poison Ivy, too, was kind of like, yeah, you kind of saw that because they had a friendship and a deep bond after both of them had been hurt so badly. But it just kind of, I don't know. I think they went for the easy on that one.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Maybe I'd have to pick up a few trades of the Rebirth and see what they did with her. But if it was anything like the 52 Harley or Harley and her gang of Harleys or what was the other one? Was it Little Black Book that she was kind of, then yeah, I would probably read it again.
I'm going to recommend it that you pick up some of the Rebirth because they did tweak it a bit, and she is not totally dependent upon Suicide Squad. She is a bit stronger. It's nice to see that she has additional characters to interact with, some of which are obvious goofball characters.
Right.
But they're characters that are redeemable too. That's what I'm impressed with.
Yeah. I'll definitely check it out again.
Okay. I would appreciate it.
Yep. I mean, I love Harley. From the first one-liner that she uttered in the animated Batman, from then on, but it seems like when the world got hot and heavy for Harley, they totally changed who she was, And they were like, well, this isn't the character little girls can look up to. Well, no, duh. She wasn't created to be looked up to, so.
And that's a thank God.
Right,
I understand. Good choice.
Thank you.
All righty.
Okay, hearing that, I'm not as worried about what I've done here. Because my first choice, and this is, I'm actually sure at least a couple of you guys are not going to be surprised, as to why. I mean, as far as the choice goes, the book that I'm using kind of as the leaping off point for this is the most recent Red Sonja incarnation
Mhm.
And in that story, essentially, Sonya was honestly, in the issue 0, she was in some way, shape, or form sucked from her world into modern day, like New York City. And honestly, that's where they lost me. Because
Yeah.
that's too big a culture shock for me. I am a big Red Sonja fan. But the reason I'm a big Red Sonja fan is because I'm a big medieval fantasy fan, not because I want to see somebody from the dimensional equivalent of Dark Ages Eastern Europe dragged kicking and screaming into New York City with a sword and absolutely no way to communicate with anybody except for coincidentally this one guy who happens to have a link to that portal or whatever, which just didn't make any sense to me at all. And so that was, and that's a right up front. That was one of the reasons I wasn't sure this fit this description all that well, is because it was issue 0, and I was like, wow, really? Because effectively, what you've created here is a time travel story.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's not even a particularly creative one, unfortunately. I wish I could say otherwise. Because again, I really like Red Sonja, and I'm blanking on who wrote that. But I recall it being somebody I actually liked as well.
Doesn't Gail Simone do Red Sonja?
She has. It's been a couple of years since she did her run.
Wow, yeah.
She did like 3 arcs on Red Sonja a couple of years ago. But yeah, and so, me and time travel, we go way back. Time travel is...
Back and forth.
It's... yeah.
Sad.
You opened it up there.
I did.
You opened that portal.
I did open the portal. It's
time warp.
It's just
Again.
such... It doesn't... I see, it's hard for me to even put into words what my problem with it is. It doesn't build a cohesive story. In fact, it actively works against a cohesive story. And consequently, it is almost never done well. It is almost never a well-crafted story.
Yeah.
There can be stuff that happens in the story that works, but it's generally despite the story. And there's just too much stuff that can't be made sense of for it to work overall. And that's kind of essentially my problem with the whole time travel thing. It's why I've almost never seen a time travel story that works for me in my whatever's wrong with me. I don't know, but other people seem to like it. But I think it's that whole fish out of water concept that they really like, and you can do that without using the time travel cliche, because now it's just a cliche. There's nothing original about it. And there's not a hell of a lot of original going on out there anyway, and that's fine. That doesn't mean there's not good stories. There are.
Right.
There are tons of them. That one didn't work for me.
Yeah. See, I don't know if I would like that either, because if you take a character who's supposed to be medieval, like you said, it's a fish out of water, and it's just, overdone. Plus, we like the character because she's medieval and, yeah.
Right. We like her because she's a badass, not because she's
right.
Whipping out her sword and trying to smash the shit out of every car she sees because it's just a big monster to her.
Yeah.
No, come on.
Yeah.
That's really not fun. That's just cliche at that point.
It
doesn't
for about
work.
2 seconds, but yeah.
The first time it happens, maybe. But
Maybe,
even then, it's not like you're not going to see that coming either, because I mean, that's the cliche. That's what makes it a cliche, is that it's really obvious at this point. It's been done so many times that you can't not see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you mention Red Sonja, I'm like, oh, I know where he's going.
See? Then again, we're not in this to be unpredictable.
No, no. And I agree with you, because I read that, and I read the issue 0, and was like, whoa. And then I'm like, okay, I don't know about this.
Right.
You want to send her to another world, another fantasy world, or something like that, okay, or something like that, but just in modern day,
Right.
you know.
I'll tell you, the Pathfinder series did this. Dynamite does a
Yeah.
Pathfinder series, and they did one where I don't remember what it was called off the top of my head. This is about maybe a year and a half ago, where they pulled a bunch of characters. They pulled Red Sonja was one of them, and they pulled Tarzan, and they pulled a bunch of characters like that, a bunch of the iconic pulp type characters, along with obviously their Pathfinder group, and they dumped them all into this kind of battle world type situation. I mean, not unlike Secret Wars back in the day. That actually worked okay. I mean, it was another one of those that when I read the first issue, I was like, oh, really? This is what they're going to do? And then I kept reading, and they actually created some interesting stories out of it. I mean, it lasted one arc. It was like 6 issues, but there were stories in there, and there were interesting character dynamics and relationship stuff, and it was actually well done. But they didn't have to bring them to like Giant Stadium or something to do it. They just put them in it. They put them in a world where things are weird, but they're not so weird that the people they're bringing in don't know how. I mean, they can communicate with each other. I mean, they for crying out loud with the Red Sonja thing. Like I said, she was speaking whatever language she's speaking. Nobody understands it except for this one random guy that she happens to stumble across in New York City. Anybody from New York City can tell you how hard it is to find one person in New York City without some serious technology assistance.
Right.
Or some heavy advanced planning. But anyway, yeah. So, I mean, it's not like it can't be done in other ways that are honestly more interesting. It's just...
Well, right now there's a title of The Greatest Adventure, and it pits people, literary characters, in a situation, yet they're from different time frames, unlike League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. These have a little bit of variance, but they successfully pull this one off, because it's not like they pull it into the present. They still fight the baddies from the past, and it's not like they're traveling time to fight somebody. It's all taking place in one time frame. I look at it as successful because they're not trying to stretch it to a point that you're just going to shake your head and go, this is so stupid, I don't want to be around here. But I understand your plight with the idea that time travel is infallible. We all know that that's not true. We've seen too many films or television shows or the like to show you that, no, that's not the way it's going to run. There are too many things that are going to crash and cause problems later. So I'm with you there on time travel. I enjoyed time travel stories, but sometimes they just can't cut it.
I will throw out, just real quick, I will throw out one time travel story that I thought it worked well for what it was. It was, and the reason it worked well is because it was honestly, legitimately making fun of time travel the whole time. If you're familiar with Futurama, they did what, if I remember right, was a two-parter that was, they got jumped somehow, I don't remember off the top of my head, back in time, and essentially they were the Roswell incident, and the whole thing was just this hilarious shtick of weird time travel jokes and it was all fish out of water stuff, but it was done in a way that made fun of time travel stories. And the Fry ends up being his own grandfather.
I remember that one.
Yeah, and you get, this is what, Roswell was what, 1947? Somewhere in there. And you've got Farnsworth. Farnsworth is wearing this like 1920 zoot suit the whole time, and they're talking in this weird, twisted patois that just, wasn't even it was like a mix of everything from the 20s up to the 70s, and it was just hilarious. So maybe in my eyes, the only way to successfully do time travel is to mock it. I don't know. Or maybe that's just to the point that we're at, that it's been so badly overdone that the only way it can work is by intentionally breaking it. I don't know.
I do remember successful stories. I think The Sound of Thunder, I thought, was an interesting take on time travel. I think it was, I want to say Robin Cook, that did one recently about some people traveling to France during the Revolution, and that was kind of well done. But of course, they usually have a little hook in the story where it makes you think that it's all true, and obviously it is not. But there are successful ones in comics or in movies right now. I don't see a lot of them.
Right. It doesn't really seem to be trending right now, fortunately. So,
True.
yeah, another successful series of novels that worked were Eric Flint's 1632 series. The deal, though, was that was the whole time travel part of it was a completely isolated event. It happened once, and essentially it stuck. If you're not familiar with it, it pulled a chunk of a small town from somewhere in like 1990s Middle America and dumped it in Central Europe in 1632. And it was just kind of a boom, just a one-time thing. And so all of these people that we, the readers, are very familiar with because they're modern-day American folks, are stranded in this essentially foreign land and have to figure out how to survive in what is a very kind of unstable period in that region's history. And so you got basically a whole bunch of really cool alternate history type stuff out of it, because the story wasn't a time travel story; it was an alternate history story. And they went on and wrote several books and collections of short stories in this kind of world, and it's very successful. But again, that's a situation where time travel is not the story, because they're not trying to get back, or they would love to get back, but there's just no way, because they don't know how they got there. So there's no hope of getting back. So they just kind of get on with life and start creating their own future from there. in the past.
Alrighty. I'll go next.
Woo.
The origins of this one kind of go back a little bit earlier than I was going to point out. The storyline Hush from Batman. I guess this is from like maybe 2009 or something like that, which was a year-long story arc, and it was really good. But there was one shocking cliffhanger during the middle of it that it worked for me, but I was going, oh, I hope this doesn't put any ideas in writers' heads, and unfortunately, it did. And it was the supposed resurrection of Jason Todd, which we find out in the final issue did not happen, but we eventually get it down the road as him being Red Hood. Now, mind you, I enjoy the current Red Hood and the Outlaws, and that's Jason Todd. I like the book. I don't like the fact that they decided to resurrect Jason Todd. And my thing was, to me, that was such a significant event in Bruce's life. This was his greatest failure. He took this kid that was off the streets, that had a chip on his shoulder the size of the universe, and he thought, hey, I can take him, I can train him, I can harness this to where he could be a force for good, and he could help save the world instead of trying to destroy it. And he was wrong. And the impatience in the anger and all of that, it cost Jason his life. So, up to then, we were constantly bombarded by the tragedy of Thomas and Martha being shot. We saw it all the time. Here was something else that they could use, and they did, because he turned more into he went from kind of the detective to the more of the vigilante and be a little bit more violent and that kind of, and reckless and all that. And it wasn't until Tim came along and pointed to him and said, no, you need a Robin, you need something that helps you center yourself and all that, and then that's when things kind of turn around for him for the better. I just think that was I think that was a wrong direction to go. But obviously, Jason's been so popular, and like I said, I like the new series. I do like Jason in it, but I just think I think that was the wrong thing to do. At least that's my thoughts.
Yep.
Right. The question becomes, what purpose did it serve in the story?
Right. And in hindsight, it didn't.
Right.
You still see from time to time in the cave, the back cave, his suit in the tube as a memorial, and it's just like, why? You're not mourning him.
Right. You don't need to memorialize someone who's not dead anymore.
He's not dead, and he's he worked
dead as Robin.
That's actually kind of a good point.
Well, okay.
You're not memorializing Jason. You're memorializing the idea, and you're memorializing what his death at the time symbolized.
And it could be a reminder of, hey, this happened once. It could happen again if I'm not careful. Hey, it could be that too.
Right. This is a failure that I had, and I want to make sure I don't forget that failure. That's the deal. It's kind of memorializing the failure.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
But yeah, it's still, what did bringing Jason back serve any purpose in the Hush storyline? Probably not.
No.
And that's the problem, is that you're just introducing weird crap into the middle of a story that doesn't serve a purpose. I mean, unless they really did put that there so that they could do Red Hood and the Outlaws later on. I really wouldn't put it past them.
Wasn't that the one that all the readers voted on him to die, though?
For Todd to die?
Yeah. Didn't they vote for him to die that way?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it was kind of, they were backed into a corner, because who would have thought that they wanted him dead, and nope, they wanted him dead.
They did have a vote on it, Liz. I just wonder if it had already been decided and the vote was just something to get people involved.
Yeah, true.
I don't know that they had two different endings for this story.
Yes, I have seen art. A part of it did have art where it was a big splash page with Bruce holding Jason's body saying he's alive and a big smile on his face. So, yes, I have seen that. And it is a part of art. I could tell that now. Now, whether that's actually art that was going to be used for the issue, depending on how the vote went, or was something down the road, I don't know that for certain.
Yeah.
Okay, Les.
Kind of funny. I had wrote that down too. The Joker killing Robin.
Okay, there you go.
So, great minds.
Would you guys believe me if I just said I was happy with everything?
No.
Crap.
Okay, I'm going to write this down. This day, this time, and all this, and we'll see what happens down the road. Look! On the 13th of March in 2018 at 10:35, you said you're okay with everything.
I just asked if you would believe me.
Oh.
We wouldn't.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Crap.
So
I don't know that I like the idea of some of the reboots. Liz brought up New 52, and I was not totally sold on that to begin with. Yet I was really not sold on Flashpoint, the little item that was trying to, establish New 52. Because all of a sudden, origins were changed drastically.
Mm-hmm.
And I just could not accept everything that was being tossed out. I think there was a mistake from the word go. And I think that Marvel has even said, we're sorry. We didn't mean to have it happen like this.
You mean DC?
DC. Well, yeah, Marvel's
I was
got their own
wondering,
problems.
Marvel
I've learned
didn't
not
either.
to question less.
Oh, but it's so much fun sometimes.
If it was Marvel, they wouldn't admit they did anything wrong. So there you go.
There's a truth right there.
Yeah.
They would not have admitted a damn thing.
No.
But just the idea of a reboot just so you can recreate characters to your liking, I wasn't sure. I did not like the idea. That was my biggest peeve of the past many years. I am glad to see that it is gone now.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm the only person that has that fear. But
Okay. Let me ask you this then. Did you feel the same way after Crisis?
it depends which Crisis.
I'm talking about the first one. That's the one that did the most changes. The one, the mid-'80s.
Yeah. No, at that time, it didn't strike me as all that odd. Now, to me, it just seems like a way to put out more issues, maybe even begin new titles, not have the same effect. Back then, it was major, no two ways about it. But at that time, I don't think it disrupted all that much.
So you're saying and I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just trying for clarification here.
Sure.
Post-crisis, you didn't really have a problem because it really never been done before. Where Flashpoint, leading into the New 52, it's okay. Been there, done that. Let's not do this again.
That's probably a good way to put it.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's a valid point.
Well, and before they did the New 52, they made a point to put out that comic series, The Secret Origins, and there was always like 4 of them in a book. So it was kind of like, why did you lay down an origin just to turn around and, forget?
And reestablish one, yeah.
Right, And then when you have characters that it's not just a new thing or a fad for you, and you've been following this person for years, and now all of a sudden, it'd be like saying that Bruce Wayne's parents didn't die. I mean, you can't do that. That's the defining moment for those people that they changed,
Well, it just when I was thinking about what you were saying, Les, how they would change up like the origins and stuff, I'm thinking, and this has been on my mind a lot recently with, Bendis is about to take over the Superman books, but he's going to start off by doing a Man of Steel miniseries, and I'm having flashbacks to '86 when John Byrne did the same damn thing. That was a massive change of origin. You eliminated the whole concept of him being a superhero as a kid, and he went from not having his parents to having his parents again, or his foster parents. And there was a lot of, he had been seriously depowered. He didn't have the abilities that he did before Crisis and all that. That's some major changes there too. So that's all. I'm like I said, I'm not trying to rag on you. I was just trying to, say they're kind of similar, but the whole thing of the fact that it's happened again. And, and the questions are coming out now with regard to what Bendis is going to do is like, okay, how much is he going to change after you've had all these other changes in such a short period of time?
True.
Yeah.
So there's a little, is trepidation the right word here?
Yeah, I think so.
I agree with you.
It's amazing how jaded and cynical we can all get in 30 years when they keep doing the same thing over and over again, isn't it?
Right.
What a concept.
Well, we just can have them tie travel, and then that makes things better.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Flash can run backwards in time. Which, to my understanding, is not really that far off of reality, but reality being a really vague term here, but yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any other examples? Or are we done?
Bad storylines?
No, there's always bad storylines. I'm just talking about an element where you go, man, I really wish that hadn't happened.
How about Convergence, where they had to give us a comic book to explain our comic book to us? I didn't get that one.
Well,
I wish they wouldn't have done that.
Well, let's be honest here. Convergence was done essentially to cover their move to Los Angeles. They basically had to shut up shop and move, and that took a couple of months. So they had this to happen. That's essentially why that happened.
Turn Grant Morrison loose on the multiverse.
That had actually been in the plans for God knows how long.
Yeah.
So, but, you know,
Like
with
I said,
Convergence, you know what? With Converge, if it wasn't for Convergence, I don't think we would have had Rebirth.
Yeah.
Because
That's true.
they saw how popular some of the older elements were, and thought, hey, you know, maybe, you know, I think that may have been a deciding factor to bring it back.
We can make a buck off of this.
Yep. Put out a whole bunch of number ones so everybody grabs them.
Hey, Marvel does it all the time.
Yep, they do. And
Yeah,
then
they're
I think
coming up
another
with it
one
again.
Yes.
that
they
I've complained about quite a bit was when Thor lost his hammer. And it was kind of like, oh, it was something Loki whispered in his ear. Well, what? Thor lost his hammer. Don't you think we need to know what it was he said to him?
Oh well, yeah, that has actually been explained. That was in it was in the Unworthy Thor miniseries. It was explained what was said, and it was actually Nick Fury, because Nick Fury had obtained all the knowledge from the Watcher.
Huh.
But the thing to my knowledge, they have
Did they do
Right.
that though?
right.
You know?
Oh yeah, the Unworthy Thor miniseries was like last year.
Yeah.
After Jane Foster Thor has been flying around for a couple of years. The thing they've never explained is how Jane got the damn hammer in the first place, because all of that took place on the moon. So how did a human get to the moon to get the hammer? I
Yeah.
don't think that's been explained. If it to y'all in the audience, if y'all listening, if it's been explained and I just hadn't caught it, which is a very good possibility, let us know.
Yep.
And if not, then please verify that this has not been explained. Because I'm like, that still kills me. I'm just like, we saw Thor on the moon trying to pick up the damn hammer. And then here we are, Thor #1, and she's got the hammer. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell?
What did I miss? What was said? I said that was just something that drove me crazy because, you know, and then it was during the time too when they were changing a lot of characters just for the sake of being PC. So it was just kind of like, okay, are you doing this because you want Thor to be a girl, or are you doing this because there's a good story behind this? But you're already missing half the story to get to that point, you know. Thor losing his hammer and her being able to get it.
You're telling that story in order to tell the other one, in a way. You're telling you don't want to necessarily start right at the beginning. You start at a dramatic high point, and then you can always flash back.
Character, shouldn't we have some kind of origin for her? Or
yes, but my guess is they're doing it so that they can get back to that.
Yeah.
What you want to do with a new character is you want to start them off with something exciting and new.
Right.
Which is not always going to be an origin story. Let's be honest. Origin stories are not always the most exciting. Especially when the most exciting part involves apparently Jane Foster getting to the damn moon by herself.
Right. And being able to pick the hammer up, you know.
Right. Well, right. I mean, my guess is the hammer is actually involved in this process in some way we don't understand yet, but that's just my guess. So, you know, it's...
And then not only did he lose his hammer, he lost his name, and it was all kinds of
Thor's all of a sudden a title and not necessarily his name.
Right. It's like, wow, shouldn't they have included that in his origin story?
That's kind of bogus, really. That one, I'll give you that part is bogus.
Yeah.
That's very not Norse-like.
Now,
if we're taking this from Norse mythology, that's not how that works.
Right.
Now, her being able to pick up the hammer, I mean, it says on the face, you know, whoever it deems worthy. or possessed power. So, obviously, she was deemed worthy.
He selected her, right?
Something
And
selected her.
I can buy that, but
But the book should have been called Jane Foster, God of Thunder.
yeah.
Because the title is God of Thunder. Not Thor. Thor is not the title. Thor is the guy's name.
Right.
God of Thunder is the title. Or whatever variation you want to call it. That's the title. But nobody was going to...
Go ahead.
Nobody was going to buy a book titled Jane Foster, God of Thunder.
Right.
Because it needed to say Thor somehow. They could have just called it Not Thor or something. I don't know.
Well, let's be honest. That's why when they gave She-Hulk her title again, they called it Hulk. They didn't call it She-Hulk. They called it Hulk.
Because She-Hulk never sold.
Yeah.
It did.
It did well, but the thing is, it's like I don't think the fact that she is in front of it is going to be that's going to make people not want to buy the book. If the book is about Jennifer Walters, if people like the character, they're going to pick up the book regardless, whether it's called Hulk or She-Hulk. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
Well, and dancing on that gender identity line thing again too. And
that's,
right.
That's part of it. Is technically she's a Hulk. I mean, that she's been called She-Hulk in the past is borderline sexist to begin with, and if you're trying to fix that problem, then there you go. But again, you're going to get people that don't like it. Just because there's always people that don't like something.
Right.
True. What were you going to say, Les?
I thought that Hulk had a first name. No, unworthy.
Oscar.
And Bingo was his name. What?
Well, you said Hulk had a first name. It's Oscar.
And you said you've liked everything so far, Les, but I remember when you came and told me about them killing Bruce Banner off and how wrong and messed up that was. So, didn't you get a little mad at that?
No.
Not even just a little bit?
No. Not a Marvel reader.
See, and that was another thing. If you're going to change a character, that's cool. And then you find out you've made a mistake. Well, now they've killed the guy. They can't. Where do you go from there?
You bring him back. That's what they always do.
Find a
and that's what they're doing. He's coming back.
Oh man. See, now I like the Walking Dead comic, but at least I know those people are dead.
Well, it's different. In a zombie world, it's different. I mean,
this week, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if people are dead and coming back,
Yeah, well, when they die because somebody put a shotgun up to the back of their head. That's why they die, or because the zombies ate them. If they come back, they're coming back as a zombie. That's one of the weird rules about zombie stories.
Yeah. I got to come back for it to work.
Mm-hmm. Coming back is already built into the process.
And then I like it when they mess up so bad that they know they messed up. With case in point, Lobo 52. Another 52 title, go figure. Where they took him from Sons of Anarchy to Zoolander.
Right. Ooh. Ouch.
It was
Twilight Lobo.
It was bad, And then
Twilight sounds better than Zoolander. Damn.
Well, he was all pretty and put together, and it's like Lobo, the guy who looked like a Kiss reject riding around on a motorcycle has now got a nice little faux hawk, and He's all cleaned up, and it's like, man, that's not Lobo. That was another one. And then I think when they were fixing all of that, he was in that little bubble, and he's like, no, put that one back. Put that one back on the shelf. That one doesn't go. So I think even they knew they really messed that one up. It just wasn't the same guy, you know.
Yeah, but are we sure they didn't do that on purpose?
I guess in a way that they did, but it just didn't work for that character, you know. And I think Marvel even tried to do the same thing with the Hulk, with, you know, the nice little faux hawk. And, you know, I just want to know, when the Hulk hulks out, when did he have time to fix his hair? I mean, you know, it's just...
his rage did it for him.
Yeah, just perfect little Cupid, you know. So, yeah, I think if you're going to make that much of a change, at least make it believable to us, you know. Not just totally somebody who Lobo would have killed and put his head as the headlight on his bike. I mean, you know.
A kinder, gentler Lobo.
Right, he was, and it was, ugh.
Kinder, gentler alien killing machine.
And I gave it the 3 rule. 3 issues in, and I quit. It was like, no, this just isn't even Lobo, you know.
That is understandable, my dear.
Yep.
Alrighty, any final thoughts before we wrap things up and take a break?
No.
I'm good.
I think I am too. I feel better now.
Got it all out there.
Not quite dead yet.
Gotta get Monty Python in there. There you go.
I want to go for a walk. I feel happy.
Alrighty, when we come back, we'll have our weekly picks. And we're back, and it's time for weekly picks, and I lead off this week. For this week, I actually have a couple of collections, and this one is from Inside Comics, and it's called Baker Street 4. This is Volume 4 of the series. And this focuses on the Baker Street irregulars. And according to the synopsis, this is during a time that Sherlock Holmes apparently was MIA, but there's a war going on between the kids and associates of Professor Moriarty. And I kind of looked at the artwork, and it looked kind of cool, and I kind of liked the premise of the series. I'd never heard of it until I came across this. And it sounds pretty cool. I know this would be something kind of down Mike's alley, too. So I'm going to have to check this one out. I'm not even familiar with the publisher, but I kind of like the idea.
Cool.
Alrighty. Les, you're up next.
My first choice is coming from Titan Comics, #1 of a series called Factory. And in this one, you've got a dystopian planet, and a band of mutants are searching for a factory, which is the last semblance of civilization in the wasteland. It's by, I'm trying to get this, Yassine Ihori and Simon Bisley. I'm kind of excited about this because this is normally one that Mike would latch onto, and I think it's going to be a fairly good read.
I'm getting a little weirded out by the fact that I'm motivating all of these picks this week.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, we're picking everything for Mike this week. Hey!
I got my own picks, guys. It's okay. You don't have to pick for me. But no, that sounds cool. I want to check that out when it comes down to.
All right, Liz, what did you pick for Mikey?
Well, Mikey, I picked a good one for you this week.
Oh, cool.
Actually, I'm really excited about this one. This one's called Hope. It's a one-shot, and this is actually book 4 in a series. And I say series as in they've all been one-shot. The first one was Conception. The second one was Pursuit. Third one was Redemption. And so now we've got Hope on this one. They're magical creatures, I guess. And the main character in the first 3, her name was Shame, and she comes into her powers. And at this point, you have to decide, do you want to use them for good or do you want to use them for evil? Well, Shame being Shame totally goes berserk and evil, and she's held her mom prisoner in one book, her sister prisoner in the other one. And so Hope is now coming along in this series, and I think she's going to clean up the mess from the third book where they actually, I won't tell you what happened to Shane, but they're cleaning up her mess. So new character. I mean, the best part about these books are the artwork. They're beautiful. I mean, they're watercolor. Some of them look like actual portraits. I mean, just if you don't like the story, just get it for the artwork. You won't be disappointed whatsoever. I forgot the guy's name who did the artwork. John Bolton. So, like I said, just absolutely amazing. It's a good time to jump on. Like, you can get these maybe at your local comic book store. I happen to have read these digital. They're on Amazon for Kindle. You can catch up and order the 4th one from your store. So, definitely a good one. Have to check it out.
Cool.
Who did you say the author was?
The author is Laverne Kendrazinski.
Okay. And you said the art was by whom again?
John Bolton.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There's a big name right there.
Yep.
I said it's just the artwork alone is absolutely beautiful, and he's done all 3 of the previous books too. So
that's a great choice.
Sweet. And they're good reads because it's all one shot. There's nothing ongoing or, usually anywhere from 60 to 70 pages long. So it's a good little story.
Okay. Cool. Alrighty, Mikey, what did you pick for us?
Well, it's funny you say that. No, I'm kidding. I have got a bit of a running theme for my picks this week. My first pick is a Dark Horse book, and it is Department H, number 24. This is the final issue. So, in a way, it is cruel of me to tell everybody to go read the final issue, but, you should have been reading the whole time.
Definitely.
Because this is one of the muddiest, most distractible murder mysteries you will ever run across, and I mean that in the best possible way. We're at a point where this is the final issue, and I still have no idea if we're going to find out who the murderer is. We may not. Who knows? But it'll sure as hell be fun finding out.
Another good choice.
It is.
That's been a great read.
I'm sad to see this one go. A lot of really, really good ones have been coming to the end the last few months. So, alrighty, I am up again, and my next choice is from DC, and this is Wonder Woman: Forgotten Legends. And I picked this because I was happy to see that this was actually being collected. This includes Legend of Wonder Woman 1 through 4, which was a mini-series from the mid-'80s, if I'm not mistaken, which was written and illustrated, at least illustrated by Trina Robbins. I don't think she wrote it. Maybe George Perez that wrote it. And I may have it wrong, but it's that miniseries, and then a couple other issues. Trina Robbins' art is just incredible, and it's very invocative of the Golden Age art, and did a wonderful job. So I'm glad that this is we have another opportunity for readers to check this out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, she has been a stalwart in the comic world.
Yep. Alrighty, Les, you're up again.
Okay. My second choice has nothing to do with Mike. This is a number one of a 2-issue series. It's called Pussycats, End of Everything. It comes out from E-Comics, and this is another little mini-series of Pussycats. This is more for adults than it is children. This has nothing to do with felines.
Right.
The Pussycats are exotic dancers that fight evil, and it's hard to explain. It's been a weird magazine, yet since it's only 2 issues, it's not going to be one that's going to just pull you in and say, I've got to read everything that they're ever going to do about Pussycats. But being an idiot, I have read the others, so I'm going to grab onto this, and I hope you folks at least take a look.
Alrighty.
I was told not to.
Right.
Wisely. You were told wisely not to read this.
It was a wise man that told you not to do that. So, but everybody else, please go read it. Okay, Liz, you're up now.
All right. Well, on a serious note, my second pick is called We Spoke Out. It was comic books about the Holocaust. This one goes back to they're having Stan Lee, Joe Kubert, and Neil Adams as the authors of this, and Raphael Medoff, which is a Holocaust historian. But this will look at the comic period during the Holocaust times when kids were actually learning about it from their comic books instead of in school. And, of course, the parents weren't telling their kids, oh, yeah, they just killed hundreds over there. So a lot of what they got to read about what was going on over there was learned from, like, Captain America and Batman, and even Wonder Woman touched in over there. So it's finally all together in one book. It's going to be a hardcover, and it should be really good. So if you're into history, and especially the history of comics, and this would be a perfect one to pick up.
See, it sounds like you did pick that for me. But anyway.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing that one forward. I'm ready to read that one.
Yep, that one sounds like an important book.
Yeah, very important. And especially some of the names. And, of course, Stan Lee, he's got to talk about Jack Kirby. I would hope he does anyways, at least touch in on that, because wasn't he one of the ones that the Holocaust affected him personally, and which was kind of crazy when they did Captain America that way, but hey, we've already did our rant session, right?
Well, Kirby fought in the war.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yep.
He fought in the war, too. So, alrighty, Mikey.
Okie dokie. So my second pick is a Dynamite book, and it is the final issue of the current run of Vampirella. That was my common theme, was that I got 2 final issues here. And this has been a very interesting storyline. This is Vampirella set 1,000 years in the future. And this wraps up the second arc, and the second arc included probably not. Well, I mean, I'm either spoiling this or I'm not, but they talk about it in the promo for it. Vampirella has been captured by Pantha, who she has, of course, in past encounters, sometimes gotten along with and sometimes not. Well, at this point, it looks like maybe not in this particular instance, and so where this is, like I said, this is the final issue of this arc, so it remains to be seen if or how she's going to get out of trouble here. So should be entertaining, if nothing else.
That sounds good.
Yep.
That it does.
Alrighty, and who has our honorable mention this week?
I think I step forward on this.
Alrighty.
There is a graphic novel coming out called Quarto Maltese. This is number 7 in the series, Golden House of Samarkand. Quarto Maltese is a creation by Hugo Pratt, who has done some very memorable things with people like Marvel. And in the Quarto Maltese series, you're set in the ages of the early 20s, and Maltese is a character that is an adventurer similar to Indiana Jones, but not necessarily leaning toward either language as the original Jones was, or the archaeologist that he became. It's a very interesting series. I have thumbed through a couple of these and thought they were pretty exquisite, especially with their art. So I'm going to push this forward for a great read.
Awesome.
Sounds cool to me.
Yep, it does.
All right. Any special mentions or shout-outs this week?
Don't think so.
No.
Nothing here.
Okay. Well, I think we should make a mention here that as we were recording, the news broke out that Stephen Hawking has passed away, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge his passing of a great man. As Mike said, he during our break that he lived longer than most who would have. It was ALS, right?
Yeah.
And such a brilliant man, and
he did a lot to bring science, especially like astrophysics, kind of into the mainstream a little bit. I mean, he was publishing books that normal people who were not in the astrophysics field were buying and reading, and I mean that says something right there. That's
exactly.
He was a great PR guy for science in general over the last 30 years.
Alrighty, let's get to our regular shout-outs then. Obviously, Manny the Martyr for the awesome music we use for our podcast. Definitely check out their page. There'll be a link in the show notes. Thank you guys very, very much. Also want to thank the fine folks that constitute Podern Family on Twitter. Thank you for spreading the word of the fellowship. We appreciate it, and of course we've been doing our darndest to return said love. Thank you guys. If you're looking for a podcast, just any podcast, just head over to Twitter and do a search, #PodernFamily, and hey, have fun. There's some great stuff out there. Just go check it out. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and checking out today's episode. We value your input. If you have a comment, question, suggestion, complaint, whatever, we would love to hear from you. And there are several ways you can do that. Email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net is one way, or you can go to www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net/about us, and there is a contact form there that you can fill out. You can also contact us through social media and follow us there if you like. We are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks, and obviously we are on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. And if you like to follow our personal accounts on Twitter, you're more than welcome to. Mike is at Mikey Geek. Liz is at Newman_L. And I'm at Tom TC Geek. And of course, Les doesn't have one, but that's okay. And wherever you download or listen to our episodes, whether it's through iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and now on Spotify, please rate us through whatever rating system they provide you, whether it's thumbs up or thumbs down or stars or numbers or whatever. And if you have a couple of extra moments, a review would be awesome. Did I miss anything?
Sounded like everything to me.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate you listening.
Thank you, everybody, for your listening and your support. It means the world to us. And until next time, read more comics and support your local stores. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,